I'm Jay Walker. I'm the Agitated Ecoist. This is part of the Climate Crisis series, and today I'm talking about voter apathy, especially amongst youngster voters. If you've seen part of the series before, you can skip ahead. Probably about a minute and a half. I will be asking the usual questions and providing the usual information about increasing climate-related disasters. So my questions are this: are people thinking about these climate-related disasters that we're seeing around us on the news on an almost daily basis or weekly basis? And then secondly, what are people thinking? How is that going to look going forward into the future, 10, 20, 30 years? Are people thinking about that? Are they concerned? Now my information is this. In a June 27th article in The Economist magazine, Munich Re, a large insurance company, showed that against the early 1980s baseline, the number of climate-related disasters had increased by 3 to 4 times. That's 3 to 4 times over that baseline 1980s. These are things like the generational drought we're seeing go on in California, the heat waves, Western North America heat wave and drought, landslides, floods like the ones we've seen in Calgary, hurricanes, changing of the monsoon, anything of that nature. Any large storm issue really fits into that mold. And we're now in the climate crisis era. If the trend continues as it has over the past 30 years, in 30 years from now, those climate-related disasters will be 10 to 15 times more than they were in the baseline 1980s. And going forward 30 years from that, it will be 30 to 60 times more than it was in the baseline 1980s. I wonder if people think that's a sustainable future. So we need to change the systems. I think that's self-evident from my question. We have some bad systems in place right now, and when good people like us all meet a bad system, the system's going to win. Our systems are defined by our past choices and our collective leadership on this, including our political choices. We can't continue to be apathetic about this issue, as we can no longer leave it to another generation to fix. That choice is no longer viable. Whether we are 18 or 88, we all need to get into the polling booth this October 19th and think carefully about this issue as we mark our ballots. We need to stoke up our inner courage to change this. First and foremost, we need to elect leaders who will take on these tough leadership tasks and not shrink from it via short-term hostess Twinkie thinking, pandering to income splitting, childcare benefit, or teasing Mr. Trudeau about his hair. We need to awaken our political and collective belief in the possible, that we can collectively change things, we can collectively act together, and individually in the polling booth and the voting booth, we can gather our courage to vote in a very different way than most of us have in the past. We need to be willing to believe that we must make a difference in the voting booth, no matter how apathetic we've been about voting in the past. It's not hopeless, and it's also not a task we can safely leave to another generation. This is it. This is the last time, we have 30 years to fix this, and that doesn't mean we start in 30 years. That means if we don't use this entire 30-year period, we probably can't fix it. We can all see that. The video evidence is very clear and incontrovertible around us when we watch the news, when we read the internet, when we see the climate-related disasters. We all know it. We just don't want to talk about it. The only people who don't, I would say, are kooks, quacks, and cranks. So this all requires that we gather up our courage. Individual courage to step in the voting booth first and foremost, to perhaps vote differently, perhaps even very differently than we have in the past. Courage to talk to our family, our friends, our co-workers, all about their concerns, that if we do not deal with the climate crisis era now, we need to get off our collective apathies and know that change is possible, and it begins by voting. Albert Einstein once said that you can't do things the same old way and expect different results. He claimed that was a sign of insanity. So if you've been apathetic and you've been expecting some change in the political system, that is not going to happen. We do have to do things differently. Humorist James Thurber, on the other hand, said, "Let us not look back in anger, nor forward in fear, but around in awareness." And I would suggest that we have ample awareness now of what is going on around us. Let us have those two great thinkers guide our choices as we step into the voting booth on October 19th and think about how to vote differently. Mr. Harper's had 10 years with this tough climate file, and he's done nothing on it. Harper? Hashtag Harper? Just not willing. Thank you.